Welcome to Accessible Educational Materials. Today we're going to focus on how to make sure that your print or text-based materials are accessible for all students. If you would like to have a copy of this slideshow, please use this QR code because there will be a variety of links embedded in this slideshow that might be helpful to you in the future. So let's get started. By the end of this presentation, I hope that you understand and are able to identify accessible text format, that you are able to enable your text-to-speech settings on your MacBook and your iPad, that you'll be able to assist students in enabling their text-to-speech settings on the iPad, that you'll be able to successfully implement the Northfield School District consistency requirement that all text-based documents must be accessible for text-to-speech, and that you are able to add alt text to images in your educational documents, and that you'll be aware of how to create documents using outline tools. All of these features ensure that our print-based digital documents are accessible. First, let's start with a pre-assessment. You can either write your answers down or just remember them. Starting with the top, are all PDFs accessible? If you scan a worksheet on the copier and upload it into your Schoology course as a PDF, is it accessible? You upload documents into your Schoology course as PDFs that you exported from Google Docs and or Word. Are these accessible? Fourth question, do you know how to check if your digital document is actually text and not an image of text? Do you know how to convert your image file into an accessible text file? And finally, when creating text documents, either in Word or Google Docs, do you know how to use the outline tools? So we have to ask ourselves, why does accessibility matter? Have you ever thought about how digital barriers affect us? What about how it affects your students? By creating accessible educational materials, we are ensuring that it not only makes it accessible for our students with disabilities, but that it benefits everyone. This is called universal design for learning. When your documents are accessible, you unlock your content to everyone, and people with different abilities can read your content and work with your files.
Ensuring that the places we go and the information we receive is accessible benefits everyone. Imagine that you are in the back of a large conference room and you can't hear the presenter, that you can't step onto the sidewalk because the curb is too high, or you are having trouble exiting a building. Have you ever considered how many everyday objects we interact with that were first created by or for people with disabilities? Many of us do not because they were developed with inclusion in mind. We have all been presented with physical barriers. Have you ever thought about how digital barriers affect us? Here are a few ways to create digital content for everyone. Adding captions to your video will make your content more accessible to a larger audience. Captions also enable people to watch your content in loud spaces and not disturb those around them. Creating accessible digital forms makes it easier for everyone to fill out their information. And using an accessibility checker when creating electronic documents helps ensure more people can access your content. These are just a few examples of what you can do to make digital content accessible. For more information on how you can create a better experience for your audience, visit the Minnesota Office of Accessibility's website.
So I encourage you, if you are really interested in accessibility and how to make your educational materials even more accessible, please do check out the Minnesota IT Services website. As it was stated in the video, there are many things that we take advantage of every single day that were first designed for somebody with a disability and now makes it more accessible for all. I want you to think about that when you're creating text-based materials. Not only do our students with special education needs benefit, but all students benefit. For example, you may have a student who has a variety of courses that require a lot of reading, and the reading is done on the iPad. After a while, the eyes fatigue and need an additional source of input. By allowing the student to access the materials using audio supports, the eyes can take a break and the student can still engage with material using their ears. Another example may be a student who is learning on the bus while they are traveling to an athletic event. The student may not have the best lighting resources on the bus, but because the materials are in accessible format, the student can listen to the content with their ears. These are just two examples of how a general education student who may have great reading abilities could access the content in a different format just because you made it accessible. So, how do you ensure that the students can access the materials that are in a text-based format on their iPad? Or how do you know that you can access this content on your MacBook? I've created a text tip that can walk you through the steps of how to turn on these settings on both the iPad, the iPhone, as well as the MacBook. By clicking on that link, it'll take you directly to the tech tip that will provide a step-by-step guide for the iPhone, a step-by-step guide for the MacBook, and a step-by-step guide for the iPad. Here's an image of what the toolbar looks like that you will interact with when you turn on these features. It allows you to slow down, speed up, pause, stop, fast forward, and rewind what is being said. There are articles also embedded in this tech tip that will allow you to have a little bit more insight behind text-to-speech and how text-to-speech can be used with your students. If you prefer to learn using a video, please select this video and it'll walk you through how to turn on those settings. So, now that you know how to turn on the settings to listen to the text being read, you need to know also how to convert an image file into a text-based file. Now, scans, copies, and screenshots are all image files and cannot be read by text-to-speech tools. In order for text-to-speech tools to work, these files must be converted from image into a text. So you must ask, I wonder if that text is true text or an image file. The quickest way to find out is to select the text. I am going to show you here. Now, if I can select the text,
scans,
and have it read, then that is true text. So again, if I can highlight, select,
scans, copies, and screenshots are all image files and cannot be read,
then that is true text. If I can't isolate those and ask the text-to-speech tools to read it to me, it's just an image file. So one of the original questions in the pre-assessment was, I use scanned documents in my course. Save them as PDFs and upload those into Schoology for students to read. Are those accessible? If it is a scanned document, it is an image file, and those are not accessible. Documents that have been scanned either should be recreated using the source document or converted from an image to a text document. Most documents that you download from a website are typically true text, but please check those. If you create a document in Google Docs or Word and save it as a PDF, it is a true text document. The only difference is cannot be manipulated or edited, but still remains a true text document. So again, how do I convert an image document into a text document? There are multiple tools available to convert an image to text. These reliable conversion tools often require a fee and often an annual membership. Northville School District has provided all licensed staff with Claro PDF Pro. It looks like this. It works on the iPhone, the iPad, and with our newest update, the MacBook Air. So to get it on your iPad, sign into the App Store using your Apple ID. Then it will automatically appear on your iPad. To get it on your MacBook Air, first step, you need to get it on your school iPad. Once you've done that, then sign into the App Store using that same Apple ID on your MacBook Air, search for Claro PDF Pro, then download it from the cloud. Once you have Claro PDF Pro, you need to know how to use it. There are two ways to get the tech tip on how to use Claro PDF Pro app. The first one is just go to Incident IQ, go to the knowledge base, and then halfway down the page, you'll see Claro PDF Pro. Select that. It'll bring you directly to this tech tip. The other way is just from the slides presentation, click on the hyperlink tech tip. And it'll walk you through what Claro PDF Pro is, where do you get it, and when do you use it. And it will also walk you through how to use this app. Now I've created a step-by-step guide here for your MacBook Air, as well as a step-by-step guide for how to use it on your iPad. And again, if you prefer to watch a video, there's a video linked here on how to use Claro PDF Pro on the iPad. If you need additional support, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Hi, just go ahead and click on the hyperlink, and it'll walk you through a step-by-step guide on how to use it on the MacBook Air with images. And again, a step-by-step guide on how to use it on the iPad with images. Please note that there are 3 tabs on the bottom walking you through the different ways that you could interact with Claro PDF Pro on the iPad. So now that I know how to take an image and convert it into a text-based document, I know that I need 2 things. One, I know I need Claro PDF Pro, and I also need an internet connection. Accessibility applies to all documents, whether they are posted on our website, a file sharing application such as Google, Dropbox, OneNote, or distributed through email. In general, accessible documents have structural formatting in the form of headings, tables, and lists that allow users to navigate the document. They use descriptive text that describe photos, charts, and graphs to users. When your documents are accessible, everyone can access them regardless of their physical abilities or learning styles. So, let's better understand structural formatting. Structural formatting is organizing your page with helpful titles and headings, which create an outline that helps your audience access the most important information quickly and easily. As you saw me earlier, I was able to toggle through the documents using the outline format. Now, if somebody is using a screen reader to access text-based information, they often need to be able to toggle through the document without having to hear the whole document. Just as we jump through a page visually looking for headings and keywords, somebody who accesses text-based format using a screen reader needs to be able to toggle quickly through that document auditorily. Assistive technology users rely heavily on page titles and headings to navigate complex content. Headings allow users to jump from one part of a document to another without using a mouse. Screen readers will interpret headings for those who use them. Structuring complex content will help all users peruse it as well. So here's a video that explains it in further detail. I'm going to let you do that on your own time. I'm trying to respect your time here today, and watching a video of a video sometimes is not the best use of our time. But I highly encourage you to come back, and it'll walk you through how to use the outline feature in Google Docs. Here's a quick visual of how you can navigate a doc using the document outline. This is an example of our district's platform consistency requirements last year. If you look to the left, you'll see the outline format. You are able to click on the outline to jump around so you don't have to scroll throughout this document. So if I click on the outline icon on the left, I can select the secondary requirements, and I can look at the required school practices, and I will be able to find our district consistency requirement. Now let's say I want to jump back up to Seesaw. I can jump around the document. Now this is just a 2-page document. There are multiple documents that you might interact with that are, 50, 60, 70, 80 pages. And being able to toggle through that saves time and helps you with studying and focus. So we've talked about how to enable text-to-speech, how to convert a document into a text-based document, the importance of outline, and finally, I'm going to briefly describe descriptive text of all images. Another term for this is alternative text or alt text. Alt text tells people what is an image, such as text or basic essential details. So if somebody is visually impaired and they're using a screen reader and there's an image that is important to the understanding of the content, you need to provide alternative text describing what that image is. What should that student get from that image? Not only is this important for somebody who is visually impaired, but it might be important to somebody who has low internet speed. So for example, if an image fails to load, the alt text will be displayed in its place so that learner will get that information. Search engines also index alt text information and consider it a factor when determining search engine ratings. Alt text gives the user more important information, while image descriptions provide further detail. Here's a little equation to help you remember what alt text does. Alt text gives content and function behind that image. So for example, here's an image. The alt text would read 7 full cups on a wooden table. This is what you would see if that image didn't load. This is what would be spoken or provided in an auditory format for somebody who couldn't see that image. Key features of alt text. It is strongly recommended that alt text be 125 characters or less. If an image has text in it, make sure to write out that text in your alt text. Remember to use proper spelling, capitalization, spacing, and grammar. Alt text is also useful for images with decorative text that may be difficult to see, such as a signature or logo. Alt text gives the user important information, while image descriptions provide further detail. Decorative images do not need any additional information, as it's not providing content. Features to consider when describing. Think about the placement of objects in the image style, the colors, the names of people, clothing if it's important, for example, a winter coat versus shorts and a shirt. Animals, placement of text, emotions such as smiling, frowning, crying, and the surroundings. Just ask yourself, what details should I mention so that somebody who isn't looking at the image can still understand it? What not to describe, things that can be left out. Descriptions of color. Obvious details such as somebody having 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. Details that are not the focus of the picture. Overly poetic or described descriptions, emojis, multiple punctuation marks are not needed. Just think about, what do you want to relay to the student or the learner? This is what's important. So example, here's the image. An okay alt text would be a man on an escalator. A better one would be a man walking on an escalator. And the best one would be man wearing a backpack walking down an escalator. Now, if you're providing an image caption, they don't need alt text. Captions are text descriptions of an image that are displayed on the page, thus allowing a sighted and non-sighted users information about the image. Providing alt text for graphs and charts. If a chart or graph delivers a large amount of information, it may be better to explain it in the document rather than putting everything in alt text. Here are several strategies to make complex charts and graphs accessible to all users. These are not only for somebody who is visually impaired. It may be very important for somebody who maybe is a second language user, somebody who has dyslexia, somebody who can read but at a lower level, or somebody who is just new to understanding graphs. If you describe the chart or graph in the body of a document, give the object a name in the alt text to distinguish it from objects and inform the reader that it relates to the nearby text. For example, image 1, chart 5, graph 7. Add a table with the chart data to the document. This provides useful information to non-visual learners and people with cognitive disabilities. So you can see over to the right, you'll see the title. The results of the pie flavor survey indicates the following taste or preferences from most to least popular. So the reader can see that the most popular is chocolate and the least popular is blueberry. That is the same information that is shared in the pie graph. Provide a hyperlink to the source table if available. So again, if the source table is hyperlinked here so they can get the exact percentages to better understand the information. The alt text of this particular graph would be a pie chart of favorite pies with chocolate as the most favored. Describes what you're trying to imply with this graph or chart. Again, if you need additional help with structure, I briefly went over it. please take a look at the Google Docs Editor's Help resource. It'll walk you through how to add titles, headers, and table of contents. Another resource is how to use document outlines. It's a guide with visual supports. And I briefly went over what is alt text and how to do them, but I never really showed you how. So to walk you through how to create alt text, here's a great presentation on how to do that. Now for our post-assessment. Let's see how you did. Are all PDFs accessible? The answer to that question is no. Not all PDFs are accessible. If you've scanned a worksheet on a copier and uploaded it into a Schoology course as a PDF, is it accessible? No, it is not accessible. You upload documents into your Schoology course as PDFs that you exported from Google Docs and/or Word. Are these accessible? Yes. They started in an accessible format. You would just save them as a PDF so they couldn't be edited. They are accessible. Do you know how to check if your digital document is actual text and not an image? I would hope you could say yes by selecting that text and using your text-to-speech tools. You should be able to test to see if it is an accessible text. Do you now know how to convert your image file into accessible text file? I hope you can say yes. I use Claro PDF Pro. I can get it from my Apple store or my App Store using my Apple ID. When creating text documents, either in Word or Docs, do you know how to use the outline tools? I hope you can say yes, I know how to use the outline tools and I know it's important, and I hope you know that you can go back and click on the step-by-step guides on better understanding how to use those tools. If you do have additional questions or need more support, please reach out to me and I will either Zoom or drop by your classroom. Thank you.